Hey everybody, welcome along to the stream. We are back with the second week of Mini Mondays. Um, Today we are painting the Galadhrim command set from Games Workshop. I need to move my light. Off to a great start. um, there we go. It's a little better. A little bit of a different setup. Those from last week, those of you who caught my mini stream on Friday, will know that I have managed to sort out my DSLR, and yeah, we are able to use it, luckily, for this. So, yeah, there we go. That's a bit more like it. So yeah, this is what we're painting today. I've got them primed. The coverage is a little dodgy in a couple of places, but it's not a bad start. I have got the one issue with we're going to have to be DSLR or nothing tonight because I have yet to figure out how to also have my my webcam going. My computer doesn't seem to like it when I have try and get the webcam and the DSLR working at the same time. But hey, it's not too bad. We are going to be painting them for as long as it takes tonight. So yeah, that's should be a fun time. I hope you're all having a good Monday night. Just getting set up here. Mad scramble to get back for the stream from watching University Challenge because it needed to be watched. Monday night is always, apart from obviously mini Mondays, it is quiz night on TV. So with my mum, it being lockdown, Monday night is when we watch. What do we watch? We watch Pointless at 5:15, followed at 7:30 by Mastermind, then Only Connect, and then University Challenge. It's got to be done. Okay, so let me just quickly grab one of my other Galadhrim models so I can give you an idea of the color scheme I'm going to be going for with these guys. So adjust the light round as well. There we go. Let me know if it's all kind of in focus as well. So back in the day, I had some of the Galadhrim models, just the regular. Hey Gary, welcome along. I had some of the regular sort of ones. They didn't really have any command models out back in the day. I painted a few archers and a few swordsmen. This would have been 2002, maybe 2003. And there were some of the few ones from back in that day that I'm actually still happy with the kind of paint job on them. So I'm going to go for a similar color scheme with these guys. Let me just grab from my cabinet one of the old ones so you can sort of see what I'm going for. So here is one of my original ones. So I've got a kind of, I'm hoping the colours are coming through well enough, but we also need to find our sweet spot for being in focus for painting. It's around about there. So we've got a kind of bronze armour. The main bits of it are sort of gold, but I've got silvery kind of highlights on them as well. Bluish cloak. I mean, I could do with a tidy up, but this is a 20 years old, this model. Maybe I'm thinking one week we might end up doing a fixing teenage me's painting mistakes episode or something. So yeah, bluish cloak, kind of golden armor, and yeah, sort of red inner bits and that. That's sort of what we're going for. I'm going to keep this on the table just as a little bit of a reference. So yeah, we have the banner guy. Again, you can sort of see there the coverage on the spray paint. It wasn't great, but we can. That might be the first step, I think, is just going through and fixing any spotty undercoating. With the banner guy, we have this dude who's like, no, stop. We have a horn blower. And we have, I guess they called it a storm caller, but he's kind of like a wizard. Yeah. But yeah, step one is to put my arm in front of the camera, apparently. We are going to be fixing up the slightly spotty priming with our old friend Abaddon Black. I'm going to put some music on as well. I uploaded last week's stream to my YouTube, and I got dinged for copyright infringement because despite only playing music that I'd myself recorded, I got dinged for my cover of the Game of Thrones theme. So I've pulled that out of the playlist, and we're just going to play that playlist again, but without the Game of Thrones one. So it's a mixture of all my metal stuff and things that I've done for the podcast. Yeah. Again, I'm not 100% sure I've got the levels exactly right. I need to put my phone on silent. Okay. Another thing I will give as a quick heads up as well before we really get into this. In my test stream the other day, we had an issue where after about half an hour to 45 minutes, although it didn't seem to really be consistent, my camera turned off. I'm running off a mains adapter, and I've got auto power off turned off, so I don't know why it was doing that, but we are going to at some point have it happen probably, and I shouldn't have any problem just quickly turning it on and off again and getting the stream back up and running. But yeah, just a heads up. It's teething problems. It's only episode 2. Okay. Give the paint a shake. So yeah, we'll start with just fixing this shoddy priming. This guy's got a little bit, see, sort of gaps in the priming paintwork around the back here. We're just gonna fill that in, let that dry to sort of really give it a good undercoat. Thin coat, as always. Just to fill in some of the gaps. So I'll try and keep him in the focusing sweet spot as well. So very thin coat. I don't want to lose any of the details. I spray primed these with a can of Chaos Black spray that I've had for probably 6 or 7 years, and it's still good, but there's so many angles that you can't get to, and also I don't want to go mad with it to lose the detail with the spray primer, because that's undercutting myself right from the beginning. Like if I screw it up later on in some layers, then that's that's my own fault, and that's fair enough, but before I've even gotten a brush out is, not an ideal situation. How are the audio levels, by the way? Is my voice being overpowered by the music, or is the music too low? It's going to be a mixture of things, so this might be a sort of adjustment on the fly kind of deal. All along the edge of that bow there. I can see that there's one particular angle just from this side where I clearly didn't really have the spray right at him. But this guy mostly got good coverage just from that one particular angle. So that's not too bad now. The worst on... Yeah, again, just from this one, it's sort of from this angle here, it wasn't getting much in the way of spray. There's another case tonight where we're doing multiple models, all with very similar kind of outfits. Last week we did the Aragorn from the Black Gate model, which was a lot of fun to paint. I kind of wish I'd had this camera set up for then, because there was a lot I was pretty happy with a lot of the subtle layering, but the actual stream itself was a bit of a blurry mess, if I remember right, because it was it was with my webcam, which was it was an experiment, first time. It's just right in the crevices he's kind of lost a bit of primer, but I don't want to go too heavy on it. Okay. Again, not looking to lose any details, but just making making sure it's properly primed. The Stormcaller has it the worst, I think. There's pretty shocking coverage on this. You can see just the plastic underneath. Yeah, it's barely painted at all. Of course, we are going to be going over this with lighter colours, but got to give it a good base coat. Especially, sort of, like I say, in kind of the crevices and bits where it's meant to be kind of in shadow. If there's no paint at all, there's nothing to sort of shade against. I haven't thought about this track in a while. Again, I hope the audio levels are okay. Got our kind of background music and whatnot going on. But this is from my last full-length metal album, Visions. Although this song is one that I wrote a much earlier version on. Gary, if you're still there, you'll know it. This was, of course, we did this right from the beginning of my first band, Lizard there. It's called Distressed, and it's gone through multiple. I haven't thought about this song in a long time. This Friday, actually, is 10 years since this album was released. I feel like I should probably do something for it, because I did something for the 10 years of the previous album, in that I recorded a 3-track like re-recordings EP, but I haven't really got time to do that by Friday. Well, I kind of do, but it'd be a bit of a rush. It's whether I want to really go for like a full crazy few days of like, can I re-record a bunch of songs in like 3 days? Maybe. I'm gonna do something there, even if it's just like a stream where I try and jam my way through the songs or something. Yeah, that's not too bad. Got the worst of it. So the only one we haven't looked at, we've done that guy, is this horn blower. Again, he's mostly okay. It's just kind of in like a few little angles that are not so much. I am watering down my paint here just to sort of make sure that the coat isn't particularly thick. And I realise it does look like I'm just kind of slopping this on, and I kind of am, to be honest. But it's watered down, so it's just going to kind of fill in the bits that are not quite so well covered. But yeah, the other thing as well with re-recording tracks, my voice is not really up to scratch at the moment. I haven't done like any singing practice for a long time, and I doubt I could even do it as well as this recording. This is over. Well, it's just coming up on 10 years since the release, sort of thing. And my voice has deepened a little bit. Singing voice, I mean, talking voice, are pretty much the same, I think. But okay. That's the worst of that. I should have done this afternoon, really, but hey, don't. So, is that still drying on him? Okay, so we'll give that a little bit. Decide where we're going to start with these guys. Now, I could kind of get like the inner robes and things done first, and then go the armor over that. We've got the kind of bronze bits and pieces. I think I'll probably end up doing the cloak last. But yeah, do the kind of inner bits and work outwards might be a good idea, because then we can sort of layer over the top. Yeah. I'm just going to nudge the volume down on the music. I mean, like I say, let me know in the chat if that's the wrong way to go on this, because whether it can actually be heard at a comfortable level. I want it to be audible, but like I don't know, not too, not too quiet, or not too loud. Okay, well, yeah, I'm going to start with the inner robes, I think. So we've got this guy. I did kind of like a... I want to match the colour scheme as well as I can. So I've got kind of like a brown inner robe and a sort of dark, deep red, sort of middle kind of corsety type thing. And then brown boots. So we'll start with our browns. I might also, you know what? Oh no, I know how I'm going to do it. I was going to say, with the kind of bronze armor. I know how I did it originally, which is I just did it gold, and then yeah. But we're going to do it a little differently today. Okay, we've got Wolfhound Brown. Is that the one I'm going for? Yeah. Shake this up. The one thing I didn't do, shouldn't do, as well as kick my camera. The one thing I didn't do between Friday's test stream and this is find a comfortable place to sort of awkwardly skewer myself in between. Because my camera's on a tripod, obviously. Where I've kicked it, I've kind of moved the sweet spot for it being in focus. Where it's on a tripod and where my desk is, I'm kind of wedged into a tiny gap in between, but we'll figure it out. So we're starting with this brown, which isn't really as dark as I would like it, to be honest. But it's going to dry a little dark, and we're going to do an ink wash over the top, just to really bring out the shadows. Yeah, gonna have to. That's way too thick. You know what, I actually might put a drop of black into that. It's just gone on there. That's just a thick brown coat. That's not what I really wanted to do. Where's the focusing spot? There, yeah. It'll dry a little darker than it is, and we'll do an ink wash on it and see how that goes out. I want it to be, then I might highlight up just using the same colour. We'll let that dry, we'll do the other guys if we can get to those same bits. Switch to a smaller brush actually. This one's not too bad. That was a bit too watered down on that guy. That's going to leave more colour in the recesses, which is not what I was ideally hoping for. But let's dry our brush, see if we can soak up the worst of it. We'll give that another go. Yeah, didn't mean to water it down that much, is what happened there. That's incredibly sloppy. The one thing I am going to do also though, while I've got this brown out and I've got this guy in my hand, is do the shaft of the pole he's holding. I can already see other bits I forgot. I didn't do when I tidied up the priming. But that is gonna bug me. I'm gonna have to get the black back out in a second, just fill in those gaps. have said it last week, this is probably my favourite track that I did on that last sort of semi-acoustic EP thing. It wasn't even an EP, it was an album. Seven tracks? 7 tracks is an album, right? Spotify counts it as an album. I'm really trying not to get any on the banner bit itself, because I'm going to go lighter colour with that. I don't want to have to paint over brown because it's going to shine through. The other thing as well, when we got the while we've got the brown out, I am going to, now I've got the brown. It's like, well, this is the brown segment of the stream. While I've got it out, I am going to also base coat the sort of flesh areas. Actually, you know what? I'll come back and do the flesh later. I am going to base coat the hair though. That's going to be a better way to go on that, I think. An awkward angle to hold this to do this bit. Also to have it where you guys can see it. Yeah, it's a very awkward place to... Might have to move the camera around because it's more comfortable for me to be sort of here and painting. There we go. Going to do his blonde hair. So I think the handle of his sword as well. A lot of brown on this guy. I've kind of got it on the cloak there, but we'll go back and do the cloak anyway later. Gonna end up with blonde hair. I'm base coating in brown and we can highlight up to it. Boots as well, we should do the boots. Forgot to do them on the other guy. A lot of the same brown as a base colour, which I realise is a little bit lazy, but we can sort of highlight it, and we will sort of highlight it in different ways. Plus there's going to be ink washes and things just to make certain bits pop out. Already see there where I'm just going all over the base. I'm not worried about that. Tidied the bases up at a later date. Let's go back to the guy who was going no. You know what? I'm also gonna. Yeah. The more I look at these models, the more brown there's going to be on them. We need to do the bow. Whole thing, and there's gold detailing that we can go back and add later when we're doing the gold bits. We got the much smaller brushes out. So, to the bow and brown, I'm doing, to match that, a quiver on his back. And the arrow shafts. And then his hair as well. These are going to end up being quite brown looking models, I will say, but we're going up from where we are. The sort of the armor bits, which will look eventually a little brown are actually going to be sort of bronze. We haven't even started those yet. I'm doing that in a completely different style. Trying not to spread my paint around too thickly as well. Brush is getting a bit loaded down there. And this guy's got hair as well. So yeah, this track was a re-record. So yeah, I mentioned I did like a re-recorded versions of some tracks for the 10th anniversary of the previous album. And this is one of those re-recorded versions. Pretty happy with that, but I knocked out all the vocals in one day, and that's, I think, the weakest point of them. I didn't spend a lot of time. Well, I spent enough time to, you know, it sounds better than the original version. I think by the time I was doing the third track, though, I was a bit rushed, and I had to do multiple takes because I was a bit rushed, and like my vocals were not always in time. Okay, all the browns. Let's do the horn guy next. Oh, and let's try not to knock the other ones over. It's going well. The horn guy. Got a bit on the armour there, but we're coming back to that later. The horn itself, yeah, should be kind of like the bow, I think. Mostly brown for like kind of wood colour, because these guys are meant to be from Lothlorien, so we've got woods, we've got gold, and there's going to be some not I wonder if I'll get a copyright hit for this this track. I didn't when I originally uploaded it to YouTube, so we might be alright, but have I missed on this guy? I don't think I've missed anything here. It's got kind of like a strap over his front there. But I'm going to do the armor first, because that's definitely a detail that will get lost. But finally, this guy is, well, it's still drying. Okay, I'll leave that. It's just dried really shiny. He's got more kind of internal armor, so we'll get to that one. Ah, see? The camera's turned off. Not ideal. Give me 10 seconds to restart that. I said it'd do this every half an hour or so. My camera will turn itself on and off again. No, doesn't want to play ball. Okay. To actually turn the camera off. There's got to be a way to make it play nice, but here we are. Right, carrying on then. Sorry about that. I'd say it's going to be a thing that happens. Doesn't seem to be that predictable though, because I've had it on for. I seem to do it after 34 minutes, which seems an odd time. Right, so this guy. There's the focus point. There it is. I do these internal robes, but I'm going to leave the armor, which is actually looks like it's still drying. He's got a lot of little kind of detailing. But most of his things are kind of robes. So at this stage, I'm just going to do those internal kind of sort of lower bits. I'm going to do his staff, and I'm going to do his hair. On the back, there's kind of like a thing. And I'm going to do his boots, what little there is of them. So yeah, not so much brown on this guy. He's got bigger blue robes, I think. Too much on the brush. Awkward angle to get that bit. What was there? Try and get the inside of that as well. Oh, I'll definitely get a copyright strike for this one. Not this one. Skip on over that. That's essentially a MIDI cover of it's just a song. I can't remember who did it originally. Is that White Shade of Pale? Is that Procol Harum? We used it for our Shadowrun bit, and I just blatantly just did a MIDI version of that song and ran it through my software. Okay, so this guy, this sort of staff now. Odd twisty pattern to it. I like it. I'm not too worried about getting brown on the hands, because I am actually going to be going back and doing the skin tones with a brown base coat, so I might actually do that now for this guy. hasn't got so much other brown work. This has got, I'm going quite thick with, well, saying quite sort of, not thick, but all over with the brown on this. The details I'm actually going to be picking out, because they're sort of leaves and things, I'm going to pick those out with some dark greens a bit. What else has he got that needs doing? So mostly, yeah, his other inner row bit here, do that. I'm not really going to do much highlighting on that. It's just going to get a bit of an ink wash on it. You can sort of see his sort of, it's like the inner robe is the brown bit. So we've got like the sort of extended kind of cuffs of that coming out of his arms here. What we'll do is do his actual hands as well. Bit on the back there. How are the audio levels for everyone? Is the music and me both audible? I've kind of tried to remember how the settings were last week, but then I also didn't really take account of how it actually sounded last week. I just, yeah. If you guys, I don't have a monitor, so if you guys, any way of checking it, so if you guys don't tell me, I don't know. Let me know in the chat. Make sure, as I'm doing the face here, that it's a thin enough layer. Because that's the one point I really don't want to lose any detail. So I think, you know what, while we're doing skin patches, I'm going to do it on the others as well. Ooh, again, try not to kick my camera. These guys are quite heavily armoured, so thankfully there's not a huge amount for me to do here. In terms of like facial features and such, but I still need to do them. Yeah, this gotta tell you, this sitting position, so I've got my camera tripod in a helpful place, is actually quite uncomfortable for me to sit in. To lean forward quite a bit more than I normally would. So I hope you all appreciate the sacrifice I'm making for this. That's what I'm saying. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do then, because we're doing this kind of in bits, I'm going to do a brown ink wash while the facial bits are drying. I'm going to do a dark wash on all the robes that we've done, just to get into the all the crevices and such, and then we can think about highlighting. So I just realised my mouse cursor was in the way the whole time as well, which doesn't help. So for that we're using Agrax Earthshade for all your brown shading needs. I did actually on Friday's stream spill some of this on my thumb, and it I've only just gotten it off. I have washed my hands. I'm not, you know, I'm not completely disgusting. So we're just going to put this onto the bits we want, letting it kind of pool in the crevices a bit. Don't know if that's actually as much. So I'm doing that on there. It's not really going to do a lot on the bow, to be honest. I might darken it down a touch, give it a bit more of a kind of natural wooden look, but I'm not going to do the flesh tones in this because they are not at the point where we're going to do the wash on them. We're going to do a layer of other colours first on that. It's already looking a little better. Just fills in all the little nooks and crannies, and makes me look like a better painter than I am. Yeah, I think one of the final things we're going to do is the banner. Helps pick out all of the little details. And, yeah. We're not done by any stretch of the imagination with these sections. I'm still going to highlight up little bits and pieces here and there. But do the base colour, do a wash, then highlight. But I don't think we're going to do that straight away because I'm sort of doing these bits going back and forth on different sections, really. Yeah, this guy, definitely that wash is going to do a lot for us on this because it's a little bit bright, the brown. So get real happy with the with the wash here, I think, because that's just sort of deepen the brown a little bit, make it a little bit more kind of wooden. On doing his hair, I could do it now. So it's going to be, I'm going to highlight that up to being a blonde, but if we do the wash, then at least we can sort of see where the highlights are. Yeah, actually, you know what, we'll do all the hairs like that. He's the only one without a helmet on, so that's the one that's a little bit more noticeable. So this is the third of the 3 like remade tracks I did for that EP a couple of years ago, and this is the one. I really like how it turned out, but by this point in the day my voice was shredded. I did 3 songs worth of vocal recording in a row because I had 2 days until the EP was supposed to be released. Okay, let's come together. I think what I might do next is the bronze sort of sections of the armor. Now, I haven't really fully planned out my paint layers on this one. I've got my sort of metal colour there. And that's a flesh wash, we'll come to that much later. That's a lighter brown. I need a proper paint storage system as well. They're currently in a 20-year-old ice cream pot. Just all shoved in there. I need a bigger desk is part of the problem as well. It's not helpful. If I had like a massive paint storage system, that'd be great. But I don't. So, well, we are going to need the red actually for parts of this. Do the red now. Don't need to use red. One of these days, this paint can is going to paint. It's a tub basically. It's going to fall apart and things are going to go everywhere. Where is my bronze stuff? We're going to need that black ink in a bit as well. I specifically bought bronze paints for these guys. Castellax bronze, that's it. So we're going to need... What I'm going to do, I'm going to do a base of just regular kind of metal, gunmetal. Then we're going to go over it with the bronze pretty heavily. I'm going to do a brown wash on it. And then we are going to highlight up with gold. Got origami gold, that's going to be the one. And then another highlight on top of that with silver. Just around the edges. So this is going to be way more complicated than it needs to be. Just like everything I do. Probably an easy way of doing it. I'm doing it with 5 different paints. Plus the primer. I'm going to take a quick sip of my drink before we go any further on these. This isn't even for all of it. This is just for the sort of like chainmail-y type sections, which I know for a fact I originally only did with 2 colours. But I think we can do better. I don't have those 2 colours as part of the problem as well, which, you know, can't fix that. They don't make them anymore. Right, so we're going to start with the no, you stop guy. See how it looks. And go from there. I love an almost brand new pot of paint. Shall we use a different brush? I think we probably should. Although this is just the base coat. Yeah, we'll keep using this one. Very nearly dropped that in the pot of paint. That would have been a pretty bad way to go. Yeah, so we're going with a layer of this, which is Citadel Lead Belcher. It used to be called bolt gun metal, I think. It's pretty much the same as bolt gun metal. But it was in heavy rotation, bolt gun metal. I remember the era of doing green edging on the side of all your bases in goblin green, because that was the style. And I don't know why we all did that, but it just kind of like, yeah, you do green edge on the base because they're on grass. But it looked terrible. It really did. It's very much like of the era though, of like, hey, yeah, this is what the basing style is like. Okay, that's okay. We're going to come back and make sure we get good coverage on all those bits. And leave any bits off. We're going to go over that with the bronze, then give it a brown wash, then the gold, and then the silver. So it should be a fairly quick job for these ones. What is this? Yeah. Trying to find the in-focus sweet spot as well for where the camera is currently. It's sort of, where is it? It's like there. I have a macro lens extender on my regular lens, just so that it actually focuses properly on this stuff. I'm still getting used to it. Just little bits on these guys. It's not, they're not big models anyway. It's not like I'm painting a tank. So it's just the kind of lower bits of their armor, really. There's not a lot to do. This guy, it's just kind of right in the middle there. Thankfully it's actually dried now. It's kind of like a sort of scale mail sort of deal. So that's that. Use the bronze. This is a brand new pot. So I bought, because I knew we were going to be painting these, because I'd had them assembled for several weeks. I didn't buy it specifically for today, but we're using it today. Just giving that a quick shake. That is the added bonus of my webcam not working, is that when I'm shaking up pots of paint, you guys don't have to see my freaking flabby arms waving around in the background. Someone's wringing out a whale. Okay. So, started with this guy. So I'm not 100% sure how this is going to turn out. This is kind of the in my head idea of how this is going to go with this layering here. So I'm going over the gunmetal with the bronze. So it should keep some of the sheen, but also go that sort of more brown kind of metally colour that I'm looking for. Yeah, that's actually quite good. That's pretty close to what I want. As we see, we're going to wash as well. And what I realised I should have done all the armour with the gunmetal. And then this bit's obviously, these bits are getting the brown wash. The other stuff is not, it's going more towards just gold. Because this is just going to be highlighted to have some sort of goldish sort of sheen. The other stuff is gold armor. I could just go straight on there with the gold, I suppose, on the other bits. That would match my original ones a little better. I'll do it properly. We'll do it with the metal in a bit. I'll just finish this bit first, and then because they're not going to have the bronze bits on there, unless I go on with the bronze and then to the gold. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. While I've got the bronze open, I'm going to do the rest of the armor with it. And we're just going to go up to gold from bronze rather than up to gold from gunmetal with washes and things. I like this track as well. There's some little guitar mistakes in it that I shouldn't have let go through at the time. But I still go back to this track as a fun track. It's kind of, it's like the sort of final track of the sort of semi-acoustic EP I did, and I think I've got a kind of Machine Head-ish sort of vibe in my head with a sort of, what's it called, like the Burning Red sort of idea behind it. It's not exactly the same, but I think that's kind of what I was going for. And this was like 8 years ago. I do bring in the overdriven guitars at the end. I actually like how that's coming together. Really ought to be using my detail brush for this, but it's okay. I think when that's highlighted up to gold, that's going to look pretty good. It's already looking a bit more complete, even though I'm way away from it being anywhere good. But I mean, it's almost to the level where I could be like, if I was like suddenly said, oh, you know, doing a quick tabletop game, I could throw it on the table and I wouldn't be like completely embarrassed about myself. Taking this opportunity as well, with all the gold bits on it, I'm going to do in this bronze first. So it means all the little detailing on his sort of quiver and such. We are giving a quick little dry brush in the bronze. Again, really flying by the seat of our pants here because I should have been using my detail brush for that, but I'm a renegade like that, you know, I can't be stopped. Okay, think I've hit all the bits I need to hit on this guy. With that gold for now, with that bronze even. It's a lot more than I thought I was going to be doing with this layer straight away, but here we are. Let's wet my brush a little bit. Not too much though. It's drying quite quickly on my palette, that's all. Don't want to get too sticky. The lower body here is mostly just armor. I don't have to be too careful with the old brush there, but I want to go mad with it. There goes the camera again. Okay, that's basically exactly half an hour. Oh, crap. Okay, well, this is going to be an every half an hour thing, looks like. It shouldn't do this because I've turned off like auto, you know, auto power off and things like that, and such, but here we are. Check the preferences or something. There's got to be something that's... maybe it's not seeing that it's an AC power supply and it's just confusing itself. But I'll have to look into that off stream. It's just quite frustrating, that's all. I think I said those exact words on Friday when I was doing that test stream. Like, oh, I'll look into it off stream, and then I just didn't. Such. I'm trying to... Okay, where is the sweet in focus spot here? It's there. I've got to come forward a little bit. It's there. Okay. More on the Hornblower guy than the Stormcaller, so we'll get this guy done first. I'm not worrying too much about like 100% coverage on the chainmail bits because I do want a bit of the sort of gunmetal to shine through. We are going to hit those with a brown wash in a minute. That looks okay. Skip this. Terrible cover. So there's a lot of little details on the horn here. I want to keep the wood colour, but we're going to try and just pick out the bits that I'm going to go gold with, which is all around the top of the horn there, but there's a kind of vine pattern wrapping around it, and I want to have that being gold, so we're going to do that with the bronze first. Same on the quiver again. Yeah, I don't think I went over the edges too much there. Tough to see. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of nice detail work on the helmets here that's going to come out really well once it's got a gold and then a little silver final highlight on it. It's going to look really nice. The bow also has some detailing on it. All these bits are going to kind of shine through a little bit better once they've another layer or so of other colours, just making them stand out from the brown a little bit more. A little sloppy. Do a bit better with the next layer. Okay, but overall, I mean, that's not terrible. Right, and then finally the Stormcaller guy. He just has, he's got these kind of, I realise that's a pair of elven daggers. I'm going to just do the whole of the handles in gold, and he's got this little kind of brooch around his neck there, and then whatever's left on the brush is going to go on there. Need to know it. Okay, he's got some little sort of strap bits on whatever his stick is on the back. Those are probably meant to be cloth, but we're going to do them in gold. That could be a walking stick, actually. He's got like a sort of design thing on the top, and that's it for him, actually, in terms of gold bits. Okay, so next thing's next. The next thing I'm going to do, all the we're going to get the brown wash out again. I've got Agras shade. I've also got the Reikland flesh shade. I think the flesh shade is actually going to work better here. It's meant to be used for sort of detailing on skin tones, but I'm going to, because I want it to be, I don't want to be completely like lose all of the details. Yeah. So I want to go for this slightly lighter wash. This is all just going to be over the... Actually, you know what? This might be too light now that I've got it on my palette. Put it on the model, see what it looks like. You know what? I'm happy with that. A bit more brown. Or am I? We'll do this as a test here, actually, before I get too far into it. Got a little bit of brown on one side. I'm going to try on the other side, actually, the black one. I do want the details to sort of pop out a bit more. I don't think the brown wash actually is going to do the job. Yeah, we're going to go with the black. That's going to really fill in the... fill things in a little bit more. I don't want to get too thick. And this is just on the kind of chainmail, scale mail sort of bit. Just to kind of make sure we don't lose any of the detail in it. The other bits aren't going to have that. It's a little dark, but it's okay. A little better on the finished product. Because I want it'll kind of keep that metallic look a little bit better, I think. Yeah, keep that sort of sheen to it. We are, as I say, going to highlight up to gold anyway. Well, I say highlight up to gold. The next step is going to be gold for the scale mail bits, and then we're going to do a really, really light silver, sort of just around the edges. Yeah, that's really quite dark on that one. Thinking about these washes, they really don't take that long at all as well. Quicker to put on than they are to dry. Right. Time for another sip of my drink. I hope you're all having a good evening. It is 10:20. And now the weather. Right, next step. I'm using Auric Armor Gold. Which definitely is going to need shaking up. Bingo wings are flying. Ooh, it's a little bit soupy. Soupy twist. Yeah, look, it's a bit sort of... That's a bit goopier than I would like. I think I stirred it up the other day. We used it for something else. Should be okay. So the ink is still drying on those bits, so I'm going to actually, while that's still drying, start with the gold on the other bit. Yeah, this is not very thick at all. It's kind of watered down way more than I would like. Need a new pot of it, really. As far as layers go, that is not very thick at all. We might have to do multiple coats of this. Actually, that's coming out okay. Okay. It's like it started to sort of, I think whatever formulation they got on it, it's just not keeping its thickness in the majority of it. It's going on okay in some bits, but then in other bits it's sort of like a little bit too kind of starting to turn to liquidy, like too liquid, if you know what I mean. But then it's, yeah, it's tough to explain. It's almost like it's had thinner mix into it, but like not in a good way. Like I don't have control over the paint as much as I would like. Like I can't just get like a little bit on the brush, which is that's actually a problem. It's going on there okay though. Sort of. Yeah, uneven coverage is the problem I'm having here. Where's that pencil I used to stir everything? Here we go. Oh, I can already see. I used this to I had this problem the other day because it's got gold on the front, so it must have been. God, that was awful. That's more like it though. It's like it's got like a thin layer of thinning medium on top of it, and it's affecting all of it. That's just awful. That's grim. Like cat sick. I do have a lovely sparkly bit of kitchen roll now where I've just wiped this pencil off. I'm going to keep this to one side in case I need it again. That's much better. I should have started by doing that. Still not 100%. Still the coverage is a little bit spotty, but it's better than it was. Going on a bit thicker now, at least. So the real problem I've got here now is I really don't want to lose any of the nice detail on the helmet. And also I'm trying to keep it so I'm painting where you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm taking care here as if I'm not about to completely mess it up when I try and do the face skin tones. It's going to go everywhere. Right. So let's get most of that off the brush. We're just going to do a light brush. Let's scale them out. Yeah, real light. There we go. Happy with that. Well, I'll let that dry and move on to the next one and we'll see how it turns out. Really like the goldenness of this gold. Once it's on properly, it's kind of a really warm colour with still that kind of metallic shine to it. When it colours properly, that is. Well, I'm already going to have to go back and get the browns out again because I've got gold paint onto there, but hey. There's always some touch-up work that needs doing. I think I said something like this last week, but a lot of my soundtrack stuff ends up being kind of ominous and depressing. And I had to think about it. I think it's mainly because I only have the music kick in when something like ominous or depressing is happening. But then there's occasional tracks where it's just like, hey, here's 5 minutes of calming, sort of just chilling out, going through the countryside music. Just sort of interspersed between everything else. Okay, I'm actually fairly happy with how it's gone onto this one. A few details to pick out on that one. I'm going to have to be careful I don't screw up stuff on, but really gone on in a very weird way in there, but I'm not happy with that. I went on like I was edge highlighting it, which was not my intention. There we go, that's the warmer gold I'm talking about. Well, that was the camera turning off again there, but it's me knocking it. Too many things that can go wrong in this one. Can you tell I listened to the Battlestar Galactica soundtrack a lot when I was writing this? This is nothing but taiko drums. It just sounds so awesome for space battles, though. Really as happy with the detailing on that horn as I would like, but it looks okay. From a distance it's good enough. Okay, so finally the Stormcaller guy doesn't have as much gold and bits and pieces on him, but we are going to do what we have. So next step here is going to be a very light dry brush with silver. The camera's going to turn itself off in a minute as well, I can tell. Because we're approaching that extra half-hour mark. Fang steel, which is, it says steel, but it looks like silver on the model. Always paranoid it's going to go everywhere. So this, I'm actually going to switch to a smaller brush. A little bit smaller. One on the right's what we're switching to. Just because it's real fine detail. Just want a tiny little bit on this. Thankfully this paint covers well, not soupy. So this is actually going to make a big difference on this. Stand out, we're just going right up. Just on the bottom edge. I really don't have much on my brush at all. Super light dry brush on the lower edge of that chain now. And then really just a super light touch on that. I mean, the gold is barely shining through on that as it is. It's on purpose. Now, the rest of the armour is also going to get an edge highlight of silver. Hair on the end of it. Could ruin everything. So this edge highlight, silver on gold, is really going to give it a sort of slightly shimmery, not shimmery, but like an interesting sort of shine to it. Maybe you can see on the right there, that's what I'm going for. The left hand side doesn't look quite so good, but it's not on camera anyway, it looks okay. At a distance. Okay. Again, there's just some ultra extreme sort of raised areas on this chest armour. We're just also giving the slight silver brush 1, 2, just to make things pop out a little bit more. There we go. First use of the word pop. We used it way too much last week. But that hair is a part of the brush. I'm going to have to get rid of that. Yeah, it's a... I think I got it. So we're keeping the gold underneath visible. And any kind of raised exposed areas of the metal are just getting this light silvery sort of touch to them. Right on the edges. Just to give them a bit of extra shine. I like how that's looking actually. If this guy's meant to be like a kind of captain, we want him to look good. Overall, the model's still looking sloppy. I'm fully aware of that. But there goes the camera. Like I said, it seems okay. I think it's on a half hour. It seems to be on a half hour thing. I will find a way to fix this. But not this day. I think part of it is I have a kind of weird... I've had to sort of do a weird sort of backwards way into actually getting it into Streamlabs. There we go. So there's no... Once it turns off, I have to turn the camera off and reload the program I'm using it, you know, in. Which one was I working on? I've done this guy. We were doing the guy with the horn. Was I? I was doing the guy with the horn. Oh no, we were finishing... I was working on this guy. Yeah, there we go. Losing my mind here. So now that it's dried, I can already see what bits where I could just add a touch more. So the camera turning off wasn't 100% the end of the world because it let me get a slight breathing space on the model itself. Okay, so actually I'm quite happy with how that armor section all looks on that one. Where's the in focus area? There we go. Turn down the light just a touch. So it's not blown out. It's totally not. So you get a bit of a slightly more true to life look at how it's coming together. Yeah, see what I mean? The sort of silvery edge on the armor there. Yeah. Now we're going to do the guy with the horn. So starting with the edges of the sort of scale mail bit, which is not the goldest bit anyway. So the edges and the kind of lower portions of it are getting a bit of a, you know, the majority of this. To kind of keep that sort of, it looks like sort of silvery bronze basically. Where is it? There we go. Yeah. I filmed a music video for this song. It's up on my YouTube. We filmed it in a very cold February day. on the beach, and I'm pretty happy with it. But it was just me and Mark with the camera, so I feel like they probably could have had a bit of a more in-depth planning session. I probably could have done something a little better, but it's pretty good considering the sort of resources we had and the idea. It's just me and my guitar on the beach, really, which is a bit cliche. I kind of would have liked maybe a bit more kind of moving camera shots in retrospect. There's a lot of locked off stuff because I'm trying not to freeze to death on the beach with my in February. But that's a bit too much on the brush there. Light grazing on that upper armour because I want it to keep the goldness. Doesn't need much paint at all, this little final highlights. I do like this. I like most of the ones from that little 7-track EP thing. I can't remember how to play any of them, really. This is my cover of the theme from The Flash, back when I used to still watch The Flash. I remember putting a lot of effort into this recording though. We'll do the Stormcaller last, we'll do the banner waver next. Too much on the brush. Enough on the brush. It's one or the other. Oh, too much still. Well, I can fix that. Spread it over the whole thing, and again I just have this silver shoulder. I remember this guitar part being quite tricky to do. I still don't think I really nailed it, but I was good enough to put up on YouTube 5 years ago, or whatever it was. And people seem to dig it. I think we got The Flash had a lot of people watching it at the time, I think, which did help. There we go. Pretty happy with that. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do next on these guys is we're actually going to do the. I'm going to finish with the robes. I'm going to do the. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's do the robes next. That guy's barely anything. So for the robes, it's kind of, this is one of the original ones. Again, it's the same guy. It's kind of a grey-ish sort of blue. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to literally take my grey and my blue and slam them together. I don't think we need the silver anymore. Or the other thing as well I actually need to do is the little inner sort of chest piece bits. I just gestured to my chest as if you guys can see what I'm actually doing. Oh, that's really nasty, that one. This one is on the way out. Corn red. Really don't need a lot of this. Stormcaller doesn't get any of it. Tiny central section of the robes, and I'm going to hit that on each of them with a bit of the black wash as well. I'm not going to highlight, I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to paint it red, add the shade to it, and leave it. Complicate things in that area. It should still be like a little sort of subtle area of. I don't want it to pop. I want the armor section to pop more than that. That's kind of just like a sort of under robe bit, if that makes sense. Okay. Again, I don't think there's any on the Stormcaller. Let's just take a. Okay, hang on. We got a choice to make here. No. Okay. Sorry, just looking at the studio picture again. Nothing on him. Oh, this should not still be in the playlist. Otherwise, I'm going to get hit with. I thought I'd taken that out. Game of Thrones, it gets me YouTube copyright strikes. Not strikes, but I get dinged as like a, hey, you know, we're going to take any ad revenue you get off of this and put ads in front of it, even if you've not got any ads, which is not ideal, you know. Hating stream, I don't want producers of failed TV show Game of Thrones to be taking my ad revenue. Okay, this is my lighter blue. We're going to highlight onto that later. We'll put the gold away actually. And the bronze, the metal. I'm going to keep that lighter brown out because I'm actually going to do a highlight layer, I think, on the sort of lower robe bits, and keep the black out. Right, so where's my darker blue? Darker blue and my grey. So we're going to be mixing up a custom base coat here for these robes, I think. Let's get a slightly bigger brush out for this. I think we'll be using this one earlier. So I'm going to mix Administratum Grey with my Macragge Blue. I'm going to see how dark it is. I don't think it's going to be quite dark enough for my purposes here, in which case we're going to put some black into it. Ooh. You know what? This blue pot is on the way out. Much of it on my palette as I can. Did a little bit of grey. I just want to sort of. I actually lightened it up. I didn't really want it lighter. That would work for a highlight, but I do. That's a mistake there. It is, yeah, making it a little bit more dull though, at least, which is what I'm going for. Then we're just going to add black to it to darken it down. Probably a mistake because it's. No, that's kind of what I'm going for. All right. sort of a muddy grey rather than a blue. Oh god, I'm terrible at mixing colours. Mix a bit more blue back into it. Now I'm going to have to be quick at doing this on all 4 models because I'm never going to be able to match this shade. We'll start with the Stormcaller because he's got the most cloak. Being careful, of course, to try not to hit the stuff we've already done. It's really not covering very well either. It's not great. It's just the base layer. And this guy, of all 4, is going to have the most kind of blue highlights on it, just to kind of really make it all pop out a lot more. Which makes sense because he's got the biggest robe. And he's meant to be vaguely magic. Which, having just finished reading Lord of the Rings again for the first time in a while, the movies and of course, by extension, this strategy game, really do take some liberties with what certain factions do and get up to. See, in Two Towers, there's a whole load of elves come and join for Helm's Deep, and that is not in the book at all. Okay, so he's got this sort of sash around him as well. I'm going to base that in the same colour blue here. Highlight it differently to the rest of it, just to sort of make it stand out a bit more. Bit of a rush here. I've actually almost used up all of the bit that I mixed up. Awkward angles here. Yes, it's not great coverage on that. Okay, well, it's a good starting spot, I think. If I can I'm really hoping I can mix that colour up again, because I didn't think I'd use all of it in making that batch up there. So let's start with the black. Bad place to start is the black. Clean my brush off because everything is already way too mixed in. Add some grey to the black to lighten it up a bit, just a touch. That's looking pretty close. And then I must remember to order a new pot of this blue, because there's still a fair amount in it, but it is dried up like no one's business. Okay. No waiting around, we've got to get this straight on the models. It's kind of the kind of grey blue colour that I'm going for. It's not going to need a lot in the way of highlighting, thankfully. It's pretty close to what I did on the original set, because I do want them to sort of fit. make sure I get all the bits base coated here. Sorry, I'm doing a terrible job of keeping things in frame. Do apologise. I'm seeing loads of details that I'm going to need to go back over and pick out as well. But hey, we're making progress at least. Now normally I would try and leave a little bit of black in the recesses here. Well, I say normally, back in the day I would have. But having looked at the original model, which I'm using kind of as a guide for my colour scheme, it looks like that's what I did, and it really doesn't look great now. Like, you can see that that's just what I've done, and it looks like paint rather than cloth, which is the look we're going for. I'd rather have it look a little brighter perhaps than worried too much about, like, oh, that's, you know, that's not shaded properly, you know. I'd rather highlight up from this darker blue than leave gaps and it just, every time I look at it, go like, well, that just looks like I haven't painted it properly, you know. Bit of that cloak on this guy. No, I haven't. Shoulders. And finally, this guy. You know what's annoying? I've just noticed he's got like a little bit on his back there, so when I get the browns back out, I'm going to pick that back out. A little sort of scabbardy type thing. Which 100% didn't see when it was just primed. So these things do sometimes pop a little bit more when they've got paint on them. Looked yet, but I've just stuck my finger right into the paint and I don't want to leave a thumbprint on it. Okay, I don't think I can get to anything else. Just the top of his shoulders there, okay. Well, that's the base coat done for those at least. That's what I'm going to do then. While I've still got some of that on my palette, we're just going to mix in a bit more grey, which is going to lighten it up a little bit for a nice highlight layer. And I'll do it on the Stormcaller so we can at least see what that looks like. I'm fairly broad with these highlights. We're just looking to pick out raised areas. is quite literally a highlight. We're hitting the high parts. Might have gone a bit thick there. That's fine. Can be stylized. Basically dry brushing this as well. This is working quite well. Oh hey, it's my cover of the Daredevil theme. So that's already looking, just on one layer of highlights, a lot better. So I'm quite happy with that as a highlight shade. Oh, that's really still wet. So I'm using that same shade for these guys, the other three, because I'm quite happy with that as just a highlight for the shade that we did. When it comes to the rest of the Stormcallers highlights though, I'm going to mix in some slightly more kind of vivid blue. To really push that sort of magical edge to it. That works well. There's the sweet spot. There we go. It's already coming together a lot more. Well, that really has come through quite nicely in the back there. A lot of nice detail work on the cloth in this section. Yeah, that looks great. With that, we might do one more layer. Oh, this is a problem now. See, my highlight has dried up on my palette with one guy left to go. Oh, can I mix up some more? Can I get this? Can I revive it? I don't think I can. Maybe. That's pretty close. That's gonna have to do. Well, at least each model is consistent with itself, even if it's not going to be exactly identical with all four. I say. This one already, though. That said. Much liquid in the gaps here. We can get that out with the brush. That's why I left it, because it looked like it wasn't dry, but. Guess I went a bit too thick with that. Okay. Okay, let's see how well this highlight looks. Oh yeah, that's okay. So I put this track together for the Star Wars storyline we did on the podcast, and I kind of built it from MIDI files from TIE Fighter. Several different kind of like battle loop tracks. I added some bits of my own, obviously. Yeah, I'm really happy with how it came together. I did it with, like I say, the MIDI files from TIE Fighter, put through my orchestral software. and a little bit of tweaking here and there. I'm just really happy with it. It sounds super professional. But yeah, the fact a lot of those earlier Star Wars games will use MIDI for the soundtrack is a big help. Make sure I don't miss any of these sort of more prominent raised areas here. I think I'm going to give another coat of highlighter of highlighted sort of shading. Oh, well, that's good timing. We can tell. This is, the one thing I will say about the camera turning off every half an hour is that it lets us know when we've been going at each half hour. I have a feeling that it's a lens cleaning thing that it's doing, because when it turns off, it makes a sort of sort of noise. So, okay. What I'm going to do for this next highlight, I'm going to use that same blue, but I'm going to increase the amount of grey that I put into it. So you've got something to look at. Increase the amount of grey I put into it just to make it a lot lighter than it was in that last one. Although actually at this point maybe a little touch of white might be a good idea. I don't want to go, this is going to be a much more kind of restrained extreme highlight. So yeah, that grey's not doing a whole lot. So let's find my white paint. There we go. White scar. That's the back of my arm. Enjoy. We're just going to put a touch of this into it. Touch apparently isn't enough because this isn't really lightening up a lot. Okay. All the open paint pots on my desk at the moment, but hey. Now, I'm not going to do the Stormcaller in this because, like I said, I'm going to do his edge highlights with a slightly different, slightly more kind of vibrant thing, but we're going to do the other guys. So really extreme edge highlights on this. So I might, you know what, I'm going to switch to one of those smaller brushes. Just picking out the edge there. Be as subtle with it as we can. really try and pick out the folds in the cloth where the light would be hitting it. But without the paint smudging, which is half the battle. That I'm pretty happy with. Okay. Nicely done. On to the next guy. So again, just super subtle, right? Loose paint chips on it. Too much on the brush there, really. Gonna regret that. Super subtle, right on the edges. The extreme raised areas. Thin bits as we can get. Really happy with that. That looks really nice. Nice kind of subtle shading is what we're going for. I'm going to let it dry and take a look at it, because this might be a case actually with some of these guys where we could even do an even more subtle pure white highlight on the edge, but I'm going to see how they look when they're sort of, when it's dry, basically. And I'm not talking about doing white on all of the bits, just occasional little bits where it's really going to stand out. I mean, we're almost doing that with this highlight already, to be honest. Super subtle. Just a little bit of lightness on the edges. It's just going to make everything kind of like the cloak's just going to sort of look a bit more like it's naturally catching the light. That isn't just a blob of paint that I've slapped on some plastic, essentially. Hey! Thanks for the raid, Pixie. Welcome along. We are painting the Games Workshop Galadhrim commanders. Super happy with how they're coming together. The first, I would say, hour or so of the stream, they didn't look so good, but we are, yeah, I'm pretty happy with how things are going. Welcome along, everybody, with Pixie. We're not quite there. I don't know, I find a sweet spot that's in focus. We're not quite there with that. There's still a lot of details to pick out. Some areas I need to do. They're coming together. I'm really happy with these cloaks. Oh, Eden, actually, while you're there, can you give me an update? How is my audio? I kind of asked a couple of years ago. It feels like it. A couple of hours ago, but how is the mix tonight? As you know, it's always a bit of a paranoid thing with me that people can actually hear me talking and that the music's at a decent volume. This is a bit more of a complicated one, actually. Pretty good. Cool. Okay, yeah, it's just a worry that I've got the music at the right level for, you know, being audible and as well as my talking. This is more of a... The folds in this row a little more complicated, so I'm sort of this one's getting more of a sort of dry brush style to it, which I'm not 100% happy with. My highlight layer has now fully dried up on my palette. Oh, there's a little bit on the edge. Okay, that's good. Decent balance. Okay, cool. What I'll do before I close everything down, I'm going to make a note of what levels I've got everything set in my different programs. See, I've got my got things in StreamYards, but I'm running the music as always through the Connoisseur's media player, which is Winamp 7.5 or whatever. What's the Winamp? But you know, a 10-year-old version of Winamp, basically. A program that's been around longer than some of my guitar students. It does the job. I like this model, but it's a little awkward. Yeah. Maybe being a bit more liberal with the extreme highlights on the Stormcaller guy. Sort of give it a bit more of a kind of electric feel. As I kind of skipped the more vibrant blue layer that I was thinking about doing. But it's coming together. Bit of an errant brush stroke there, but I will say this model is looking a little sloppier than the others did. So, especially that inside of the cloak there. I'm not 100% happy with that, to be honest. But I think once the whole thing's up together, it's going to be okay. All of them tend to pop a lot more when all the details are been given room to shine. Okay, I'm just mixing up a slightly darker colour here. So he's got this sort of sash. Around his waist. Oh, way too much on the brush. Which I kind of avoided. But we're not going to go quite as extreme with the highlights on that. That sort of works. That I might do, you know what, I'm going to mix in the other type of blue to that. Slightly different shade. Let's close up the other paint pots. Thanks, Emilu. Yeah, I'm happy with. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm just a bit of a perfectionist, that's all. Like, it looks pretty good, and considering the size of it, like, that's the size of my thumb. Like, it looks okay. I'm just getting too perfectionist about it. So I'm going to use the Ultiot Blue, which is a slightly different shade. Oh, is that the one I meant to use? I thought I had a... That doesn't look any different than the other one with white mixed into it. Hang on. I think I had a different shade of blue. Give me 2 seconds here. My desk is currently covered in paint pots, so it's about on par with the rest of my admin skills. Ah, there it is. That's the one I meant to get. Galadhrim Sky. Which is a light. It's meant to be a base color, but it has a slightly more vibrant sort of tinge to it, and that's what I'm going to use. Sorry, my back is spasming. That's what I'm going to use for the sash, I think. Ooh. Yeah, that's a different one. Say that as if I didn't. I just open a pot of it and go, yeah, that's it. Right, some of that. We're going to mix a touch of white into it. And just use this extreme highlight. I'll see how it looks, actually. I might end up, actually, that said, redoing the extreme highlights on this guy. Because I want to make him stand out a little bit from the others. So sort of changing the shade of blue might, I think, be a fun way of doing that. Ooh, and also not punching my microphone. Always helps. Just dry my brush out, there's too much water on it. Yeah, it's more of a sky blue. Kind of going over what I've already done here, but yeah, you know what? No, I'm not happy with that. I know I've started it. I've got to continue it. Let's do the sash at least. See the difference there? It's kind of a, yeah. I'm going to go over the bits I just did with this one, and then maybe pick some of them out just in white. This is what happens when I change my mind halfway through a model, is that I have it at a good state and then I just make a decision and have to redo everything. Luckily, I'm barely putting any paint on the model, it's just kind of tiny strokes. That robe is popping. It looks more purple on screen than it actually is. I may not even go over all of these details, to be honest, with this colour. Just a couple of little sections, just to sort of make it look like there's a slightly different hue at work in the cloak. A bit more of a kind of lightning kind of feel to it. do think I've probably already gone too far with it, to be honest. I'm going to switch to a different brush. Framing is very hard. As I'm rotating it, I'm actually seeing a few more raised areas that I missed on the first pass, so this is probably a good thing actually. Like areas that the light would hit because it's hitting it as I'm rotating it. You know, it's hitting it in real life. So I want to simulate that. Like little bulges and things, basically. That like the brain is gonna look at and think, well that should be, you know, there should be light hitting that. And if it's not, then it looks weird. I think I am actually going to end up doing a little bit of white highlighting on this. Because I've just realised this is going to look better with a sort of light dry brush over a lot of it. But we're still going to see some of that darker original base coat shining through. But going a little bit heavier on the more vibrant colour and then picking it out with the white is going to work very well. So, yeah, it looks a little bit sloppy right now. Hey Sharona, welcome along. I said it on the Pennant server, but congratulations for the other day. Right, let's do some white. Oh, that's very watery. I think there might just be water on my palette, which would explain a lot. Oh no, the white paint is just very watery. Give that a shake. Hey Nikolai. One of these days, yeah. I think it's my own fault for scheduling a stream at the same time as Bellry as well. It doesn't help. Okay, so this is going to be. This is about the fourth time for this exact model. I've said this is some extreme edge highlights to finish it off, but this time I'm not lying. We're not going everywhere with them, just picking out a few more to give that sort of lightning effect. Keeping it as subtle as I can. That's fair enough. If I had the bandwidth, I'd be dual screen. Like, well, I suppose I'm already using 2 screens. If I had the bandwidth, I would be triple screening to have Belry on one, but I'm just constantly distracted from what I'm doing here. But I mean, Belry on one while I'm already streaming. But we all know that's not happening. Welcome along, Meow. Okay, there's such a thing as going too far with this. And we passed that point about 20 minutes ago. But, yeah. Okay, I'm going to leave this as it is there. It looks a little sloppy. It looks like paint if I look too close, but I'm fairly happy with that. That's cool. Extra little touches. I don't know if I did actually. I might have done. Let's test it. Yes, I did. I don't remember what I've done. Did I talk about doing that at some point? Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, I'm still, like, the Stormcaller guy, I'm still the least happy with his cloak out of all of them, but it looks pretty good. It looks okay, but it does look a little bit sloppy in places, so, what are we going to do? The other ones, I'm really happy with. This guy, it's okay. This one in particular looks great. Hey, thanks for following. Oh, Nicola. Okay, so to change gears slightly, I think what we're going to do next is the... Yeah, multiple accounts. What we're going to do next is the flesh tones. Sounds like a really poorly named, like, 50s band. Okay, so we're going to start with Acadian Flesh Tone, which is what we did with Aragorn last time, but we're going to highlight up a little higher from there. After we do that with Flayborn Flesh, which is kind of elf fleshy. Elf flesh as in the original old school Games Workshop colour elf flesh. Obviously, there is no limit to the skin tones of elves. This keeps popping up, but it is in the playlist 4 times, so we're going to skip that. So, this is where I really destroy all these models by making a bad job of the fine detail work. just nearly knocked a paint pot over. Nearly, though, luckily being the operative word there. Fine details is where all this is really going to come together, I think. The broad strokes are there. They look okay from a distance, but you've got to elevate them to the next level. I mean, by that, I've got, I want to finish them. That's what I mean. I've got so many unfinished models all over the place. It's ridiculous. Okay, this is the part where the camera turns off. I knew we would do that. Every half an hour the camera's turning off for those who've just joined us. Because I haven't yet figured out how to stop it from doing that. So I had to restart my DSLR software. And I don't know why it does it, but it does it. It's not very helpful anyway. Okay, so now I need to put more paint on my brush because of my stupid camera. So I want a really thin layer here because I don't want to lose any facial detail. And I also don't want to ruin the helmet I painted earlier. Okay. That could be worse. We are going to do a wash of the what's it called, flesh wash one I've got through anyway, just to pick out the details and before we highlight that up. Okay, I'm not going to put any more on there because that's thin enough as it is. I even forgot we had to paint a banner. Yeah, I thought we were making progress and I thought, pick this guy up. Oh yeah, I have a whole flag to paint. Face that hasn't really filled in details as much as I would like. Coming together though, getting there. Plenty of opportunities left for me to mess the whole thing up. Yeah, looks okay. Put the red away, I don't need the red anymore. Fine detail on his hands is quite tricky on this one because he's sort of gripping things in both hands. That's a about to try and pick out the individual fingers there, but I'll look. See, yet again, it keeps wanting to play the opening theme rather than some longer tracks. This is quite fiddly, this one. I don't know how I'm going to get into the facial detail here, actually. Get at it from the right side here. Oh, I've just screwed up the fucking highlight. Yeah, I'm going to have to get the silver out again to do the edge of that helmet once more, but yeah, this is very awkward, this guy. Where's it in focus? Kind of there. Where he's holding the horn to his lips, it's very tough to get into the face. But okay. Stormcaller now, where he's not wearing a helmet, it's going to water down my paint slightly. I'd rather do this in a couple of thin coats and not lose any detail, or not have the paint kind of blob up or anything. It's kind of pooling in the eye sockets though, not great. Should have just gone for it with the thicker coat. I'm trying to take off what I've already put on. We're going to end up with brush marks. Mistakes were made. Right on, dude. Well, thanks for hanging out. I don't know how much longer we're going. I've just realised it's 11:45. I'm going to go for a little bit longer, I think. But yeah, we've been going for nearly 3 hours. Time flies. Have a good night, though. I'm going to come back to the face on this one. It looks awful. I'm just, yeah, fully aware of that. Should have just gone for it, put on a at least good coverage coat of this and trust to the wash, but nope. Screwed it up. Let's get all the other bits of him done and then come back to the face. That is a good point actually as well, where it's nearly midnight. I am not going to maybe 100% finish these models tonight. Especially because I just, obviously we've got the whole banner to do. But I am going to get them to a point where I'm pretty happy with them, I think. So we're going to go a little later, but not 100%. Like, we're not going to be here. I'm not going to be here for hours upon hours upon hours more. But a little bit longer. Right. Another go at this face. I'm going to have to get rid of that hair from the brush. Let's give it a nice solid coat. It still looks terrible. Jeez, this is gonna suck. always one. I'm going to trust to the power of the wash there to fill in the gaps, because it looks awful right now. It really does. Like, geez, I mean, like somebody's put him face down in a bucket of pink paint, I guess. But like, you know what I mean? Why is it playing this track again? Okay, while that's drying, I'm going to rock out the flesh tone wash. 3 out of 4 don't look so bad. Unfortunately, it's the the one that you can see more on that does look bad, which is I'm not very happy about that. Not gonna lie. I'm hoping. Okay, so here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping, because I haven't done the hair yet. So here he is. Here's his stupid face. I'm gonna put the wash on it. It's gonna fill in the gaps, give us a little bit more detail, and then I'm gonna try and fix the rest when I do his hair, and just hope that I can get it at least presentable. Too thick. Just take some of that back out. See, even on this one, you can see the wash is filling in some of the gaps on the face, making it a little bit more detail sort of visible. And we highlight up from there. Yeah, faces are the worst for me. Like, I can sit here and paint armor all day, with no problems, and then it comes to doing faces, and I look like I don't know what I'm doing. So, I don't know if that's visible. So I've done the wash, and it's gone into the lips, which didn't look great on this one already, but that has improved matters on this one. It still doesn't look great, to be honest. But it's okay. Yeah, I don't even attempt the eyes. I just, yeah. The eyes are something I know is not going to go well no matter how I try it. Especially with these ones. I'm already using my smallest brush at the moment, so I don't have a fine detail brush to do it to a level where I'll be happy with it, so I'm just not even going to bother trying it. Moment of truth. What is the wash going to do to this guy? Fingers crossed, everybody. Let's work up to it. Let's do the hands. I know the hands are going to look okay. Again, when I put the wash on its own, it looks like fake tan. like he's just been sprayed up and he's ready for a night out. Night out with the girls in, I don't know, fucking Essex or something, you know. Right. Still sloppy. That has slightly helped. That's really not showing up on camera how much that's helped, but he's filling in the gap. It looks like he's super sweaty and he's covered in fake tan. It's really not filling the gaps around the eyes as much as I would like it to be honest. It's either filling them too much or like not enough. It's the problem I'm having here. So I'm sort of draining it away with the brush a little bit. That may look okay once I do his hair. I'm gonna have a sip of my drink. Is that the smallest of my brushes? Yeah, it is. I need to get some super thin ones. But I never try doing the eyes, it's just, it never ends well. Okay, so I'm going to take that same flesh tone colour that we used, and rather than slopping it on all over the place, I'm just going to pick out some little details. Then we're going to do an even more extreme highlight with the Flay 1 flesh, because that really does just need to be a light touch needed on that. Essentially this is going to end up being basically his chin and the end of his nose. That I'm not unhappy with. Yeah. Yeah, the ones in the helmet is kind of chin and end of nose, and if I can get onto the cheeks, a little, just light touch. Again, that's not awful. Getting there. Yeah, this is the banner that I can't be bothered to do tonight. It's going to look good when it's done, but there's a lot of layers there that I can't be bothered to do. Although I'll see how I feel once I do a few more of these details, because I am just pretty much just going to do it, I think white and green, maybe. Either way, it's a larger portion of the thing. Of kind of been putting off. Well, not putting off. Like, we didn't start the models till tonight, but yeah. So this guy I really can't get to much of. The side of the nose, that looks okay, actually. I'm not even going to... I was going to say I'm not going to attempt it from this side, but let's just give it a go. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Moment of truth. Can we fix this Stormcaller guy? It's like... I don't remember what track this is. I'm not a fan of this one, actually. Yep. Yeah, I was saying earlier on the stream, this Friday is 10 years since I put out the Visions album, which has gone very quickly. But also at the same time I've been super aware of it the whole time because I've been technically working on the follow-up for that whole amount of time. So I'm just aware of like, oh god, it's been another year. But I don't know whether I'm going to do like a... I feel like I should do something, right? It's been like 10 years. I was throwing out around the idea of doing a stream where I try and play through the whole album. I know for a fact, I can't remember something. I'm not going to be singing it at all. Jamming the guitar. You know what, actually with the highlight stage here, this space might be salvageable. It just looks like he's got a really dirty face at the moment. Okay. Alright, I accidentally put a massive blob of paint on his nose, and until I sucked it off then it looked like he just had like a massive clown nose. I should have stopped so you guys could see it, but that was quite funny for a second. Just had this like bubble. I'm gesturing at a camera that's not even on. Or is it? Is it on? Hey! This whole time my face could have been working. There's my face. Let's put my face up there. That's really annoying. This whole time I could have had my webcam on. I did it the other day and it wouldn't work. I looked up and the blue light was on my camera, which means it's on. And anyway, it looked like he had a giant clown nose. So I tried for 25 minutes the other day to get this DSLR camera to work with my webcam, and I couldn't get it to work, and for some reason it's now working. Frustrating. Now you get to see all the stupid faces I'm making when I'm painting. I definitely can't play this solo. I couldn't play it back then, and I can't play it now because this was my friend Nick, who I haven't actually spoken to for probably 5 or 6 years. No falling out, we were never that close. And I can't play it at all. Half of the solo is me, and the other half, the bits that are impressive, I think. guest appearances on this album, my friends. I'm trying to figure out what's making this face still look dirty to me, and I think this is like a tiny sliver on like his cheek there that I can't get the paintbrush in. There's making the face look dirtier than it is because it's still got the sort of slightly darker shade, so I'm going to make one more attempt. That's a bit better. What do you guys think? I have managed to get paint on in one of his eyelashes, and so it looks like he's got a kind of squinty eye thing going on. But it's better, and I'm gonna. The hairline is weird because I haven't done the blonde hair yet, but that's an improvement, I think. Okay, let's do this final highlight layer of the slightly lighter tone. They don't need much of it at all, just a tiniest of tiny little bits. And then we'll figure out what we're doing next. Actually, before I put this on, I don't know if this is the one I mean to do, because I bought some other flesh tone stuff the other day and I want to make sure I'm using the right one. I've got a bit of a mixture. Oh, Unger flesh, was that it? Flayed one flesh, Unger flesh. No, we'll go with the flayed one flesh. Stick with that. I'm quite annoyed that I could have had my camera on the whole time, actually, because we're 3 hours into this stream. I wonder if it's like an order of operations thing, like if I turn off, like when this camera, the good camera, turns itself off, like it managed to trick Streamlabs into letting me use the decent camera. I don't know. Maybe it was just having a moment the other day. So we really don't need a lot of this shade. It's kind of slightly lighter sort of deal. It's closer, like I say, to the original Games Workshop Citadel Elf flesh tone, which is, there was dwarf flesh and elf flesh, and dwarf flesh is closer to the one that we've already got on them. Elf flesh was a much lighter shade. These guys are pale as hell. This is a piece of music that I really like, but we used once, and I kind of, it was like a sort of theme for Jason's character Enade, when he was following a dude. I spent ages on it, and we used it once, and what a waste of my time. Well, I should bring it back at least, but the takeaway should be I should bring it back. Actually doing a mix here of the two flesh tones, because that's maybe a little too pale. Don't mind experimenting on the hands, but before I go face touching. Super sloppy ending to the track, but yeah. pretty happy with that. Not a lot to do on this one. I mean, yeah, just a pale guy. That's all. Even with my DSLR though, you guys aren't really getting the true colour, especially because it keeps white balancing itself even though I've turned that off. It's doing a lot of things I'm not telling it to do tonight. Which, you know, there's not a lot I can do about that because I'm not telling it to do them. Same with this guy, really. I can't get to a lot of his face, but yeah. I like this song, actually. I might relearn this one. There we go. There goes the camera. So here's the test then. It's still turning itself on and off every half an hour. Is it going to cut my webcam when I turn it off again? Or at least when I turn it back on. Not so far. Back on. Here's the real test. This is where it might cut when I turn the remote shooting back on. Not so far. It's looking promising. Wait. Okay. Enough putting it off. We've got to attempt these final highlights on the Stormcaller. The one thing I would change about this song, I think, is that it's in the drums here. They don't 100% fit. I would have them, because the guitar's kind of doing like a triplet-y thing. I would maybe do the drums need to sort of follow that a bit more. And as always, I would re-record all the vocals. I mean, they're passable, but I think that's a standard thing though, right? Nobody likes how they sound. Stop there with this guy's face, because I think if I take it any further, see, he's being blown out by the white balance here, but he doesn't actually look like he's got clown makeup on it. I mean, he does a little bit, but like not any more than he did. I might have just inadvertently ruined it. That would make a change, wouldn't it? Yeah, just dropped a bit of water on it and just made the paint run. Okay. I know what I'm doing next, at least, though. We are... And I definitely want to do this before we finish. So that's what I'm doing next. We're going to do the blonde hair of these elf boys. So, for this, start with this scrag brown layer, which is a little lighter than the brown we've got on it. And then, rather than going yellow, because yellow doesn't look great, we're going to mix in a little bit of bone colour to it, which is just going to lighten it up. We might end up actually putting a touch of yellow in. But yellow itself actually, or Baylor brown, might be a good way to go. Okay, so yeah, here's the pattern. Skag brown, flail all round. Boom. And because I've still got them in front of me, I'm going to start with the Stormcaller guy. And he shakes up. It's a slightly lighter brown than we've got in the base colour. A little bit more of a kind of auburn. And then from there we're going to go up to a sort of more blonde colour. Just doing everything in layers. I'm actually going to do this as kind of a new base coat, this auburn colour. Try not to destroy his hairline. He's got kind of like a sort of widow's peak thing going on down at the front, you know. That kind of pointy front of his hair. Oh, I just got it on his forehead. Ah, forget it. I knew this was a mistake. That's not coming off. I will tidy that up after I do all of the hair, because at this point I'll tidy it up and then the next layer I'll screw it up again. Get the hair done. Okay, so at the moment he is a ginger man. One of them gingermen. And they all will be briefly. Sorry. Trying to keep it in view, it's tough going. Swinging around the front. It is a little bit like it. There we go. Again, he's currently a gingerman. That's what we're calling them nowadays. More of this guy's hair is kind of coming down at the front here than the others. We want to make sure we get all of that. Do some nice detail work. Hopefully draw attention away from the fact I couldn't really get to his face. Oh, we've done that guy. Okay, so I need this guy. We are. I'm one follower away from 50, which is I'm pretty happy about. Thank you for being number 49, Pete. No hair on the front for this guy. I think I do need to get the dark brown back out and do the scabbard on the back here. Let's do that now while I remember and I've got browns in the brain. Darker brown. So it's kind of like a, I don't know if it's a scabbard, but the sort of, he's got, oh, it's a sword, yeah, it's a scabbard. While I've also got this darker brown open, now that I've done more of the detail on the front, on the armour and things, I'm going to go over and do any straps and things that I've missed. This guy definitely has a belt round the back here. There's too much water on my brush. Just slightly out of frame there. I do apologise. It's also the handle of what this sort of, I guess it's a sword. He's got sort of in the back, sticking out as a long sword. Oh, I've just really ballsed up the cloak there. Fuck. Luckily it's due to water on my brush, so I can soak up the worst of it. Really got to make sure this brush is ultra dry before I do anything, because I keep making mistakes like that. So let's put the paint on. On the palette. Dry the brush before we get it. Ah, see? Even after I dried the brush, there's water just on it. Why are these brushes so wet? Ah. These fine detail bits are really actually quite good. I'm going to also, something I should have done a long time ago. Well, the earliest things we did was when we did the sort of inner robe bit at the front. I did a wash on them, and then we didn't pick out the highlights afterwards. I'll do that now while the brown is out. This is the tidying up stage for a lot of this, basically. Find the belts and things that I've missed and have a go at them. Okay, so this guy's got like a strap across his front there. It's little fine details like that that are really sort of going to make the whole thing come together. I'm being very good this week at not saying that I'm trying to make things pop as well. use that too much last week. Again, here's another one. It's got kind of like a strap across the front that's holding his scabbard on. Just picking that out in the brown, even if we don't highlight it ever, because it's very small already. Just gonna add an extra level of detail to it. I say, I don't remember this bit of music, but it's very good. Oh, you know what? This was a commission piece for a different podcast. No wonder I didn't listen to it very often. It was last a year and a half ago, actually. Happy with that's coming to how that's looking. Right. So now that's all the straps and things done. Although actually, what about the Stormcaller? Does he have any hanging straps and stuff? Not really, actually. Now we move on to the next level of hair. Hair, the final level. If we're ever going to get these guys' hair looking as naturally blonde as mine is, it's going to take a few levels of highlights. We're 3.5 hours into the stream, my brain is starting to melt, so yeah. Unfortunately, so is my back. I'm not really a fan of this track either. It's okay, but yeah, I'm skipping it for a reason. Because I don't want to listen to it. That's the reason. Right, this is kind of a dirty blonde colour. It's not going to be our final highlight, it's going to be bringing the colour away from ginger. If we were making these Rohan guys, this would actually probably be the final layer. I'm going for kind of a bleach blonde type thing with these. That looks okay. That I don't say this a lot, but this actually is a case where it looks a lot better in real life than the camera is showing it. Did we already have this track? Probably. I know we did last week. I lose track of things. As I say, 3.5 hours into the stream, my brain is going. Oh, that's an awkward lyric. That's coming together, that one. happy with how that shading is looking. This is 100% a case of this is a chorus that I wrote what I thought was a cool line for, and then backfilled the rest of the lyrics of the song in after writing the chorus. Which is how I wrote 90% of my songs. I'm like, oh, that's a cool lyric, and now I've got to write the whole rest of the song, you know. I know I haven't done all of them yet, but I'm giving this another coat of the blonde. Make it sort of shine out a little bit more. That's looking okay. Yeah, see, that's the verse lyrics in this song are not good. But I do like the chorus. I reckon we've got about 4 or 5 minutes before the camera turns off again. I like that chorus. That's all I can say about this song. I like the riffs. I like the chorus lyrics. I don't even remember if I was writing about anything in particular with the verses, because I was just trying to finish. I think it was the final song in this album that I had lyrics still to write for. So I was just trying to get it done. It's technically a finished song. Let's call it that way. This brush is not keeping its point. It's very unhelpful. Like little bits of paint are drying right at the end, and we're weighing it down. This is another solo that wasn't mine. This was a guy called Matt, who I haven't spoken to probably in 8 years or something, but like, I knew him from the bar I used to go to, and I knew he was a guitar player, and we had some good guitar conversations, and I said, hey, I'm doing a song. I know you're into kind of slightly dream theatre type stuff. Do you want to write a solo? And he sent me this. I'm very happy with it. I'm happy with how the blondes come together on those three. So now we're onto the Stormcaller, which has so far been where everything else has gone wrong. So as always, Teresa did a great job at singing this, way better than I do. have to record with me on all of my albums so far. So Stormcaller's hair also looks sloppy because everything on him does, especially at the front hairline, but I think I can tidy up around the face. Right, the next layer I'm going to do 50-50 of the Baylor brown that we've been doing. Baylor brown and the bone colour, because I don't want to jump straight to bone. Although, depending how this comes out, we'll see. I can't remember what I used a few weeks ago when I was tidying up the Celebborn model. I redid his hair, and I'm really happy with the blonde colour I got from it, but I can't remember the process. So I can't imagine I would have thought of something too different from what I'm doing here, though, to be honest. So it just shows how little I pay attention to what I'm doing half the time. Okay, so this is going to be... Oh. My back is about to give out on me, I will say. So we're not going to be going for a huge amount longer, I don't think. I just want to get this hair done, I think, tonight. Maybe we'll start next week with finishing these guys off. Before, like, going on to something else. I keep looking at the wrong place, like, my camera's right there. Sloppy. Yeah, that looks okay, I think. There's a sort of medium kind of shade. You know what I think is a problem, and it has been probably for the whole time, is that I have set my white balance based on the other day when I was streaming in daylight. There we go, slightly warmer colours, you can sort of see what I'm doing a bit more. This bone highlighter, this is barely making a dent on this shade wise. I think the bone highlighter is going to be next. It is a different shade, it's just not quite as big of a difference in the previous one. Because I maybe should have gone. It's such a subtle change, it's not even worth it. showing. Coming together actually. I'm still not really happy with how this Stormcaller's come together. Like, it looks like unfinished to me in quite a lot more than the other ones do, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do to fix that, really. There's some details I need to do, like the green bits on his staff, but like, considering the amount of time I've put into it, it looks way more unfinished than the other ones do. Which is odd. He's got slightly different detailing though. The others have got other bits, like they've got more prominent armour sections and that sort of all stand out a bit more. Okay, we're going straight in just for the highlight of bone for the final bits of this hair. Really is kind of like a bleach blonde sort of look. Also, I just leant into my camera tripod. Hopefully that wasn't too jarring. This bone highlight is really the bringing out what I'm going for here. This is good. Helps if I don't knock them over as well. Right. We're getting all of the battle themes tonight. I'm here for it. It look, again, I keep saying it, it looks so much better in real life. But there's an improvement over last week at least. At least here, this week, we are occasionally in focus. While I've got the bone out. Bone paint out, I should say. I'm going to do the fletching on these arrows. Detail I should have done earlier. But now I've done it, I realised they're right next to the exact same colour that I'm using for the hair, which is a little unhelpful. Not going to stand out as much as I would like. Oh, it looks okay. I'm happy with all of these really, I'm just a little frustrated with the Stormcaller not looking as far on, especially from the front as the other ones do. Okay. You know what? Let's take one final look at each of them, and I think I'm going to call it a night. So, because we've been going for 3 hours 42 minutes so far, and I haven't left my chair since then. Oh, my back is destroyed. It's not going well. So let's take a close look at each of them, where we're at, and we will call it a night there. So here's the Stormcaller guy. I'm pretty happy in general with him, but I'm just not as happy with him as I am with the others. There's some other bits and pieces that I need to do on him. But I mean, the cloak I'm pretty happy with. Happy with the highlighting on that. It's come out quite well. I'm trying to keep this in focus while I rotate. So pretty happy with him, considering he was just undercoated when we started the stream. Then we have the banner guy. Where's the focus point? There we go. Again, I'm more happy with him because he's got more armor detail and stuff. There we go, that's it. We haven't obviously touched the banner. That's going to be something to maybe start the next stream with. I might finish these guys. Maybe we'll do the next stream. We won't go for as long, but we'll finish these guys off and then decide and start on something new. So that's him. I'm really happy with his cloak. There's a lot of nice folds and things in it. That nice little subtle highlights. There you go. It's really coming through quite well. Happy with how that's turned out a lot. I think when the banner's finished, this is going to be a really nice model. Then we have Hornblower guy. Pretty happy with him. He's got his sort of long flowing hair there, which adds another nice little bit of detail. Also happy with his cloak and stuff. It's come out really nice. Again, as I say, none of these are finished. They're just more finished than they would at the start of the stream. And then this guy, who I'm guessing he's kind of the captain guy. He's kind of giving like the, oh, careful now sort of thing. But who knows? But yeah, again, nice armor bits. I do need to do, on all of these ones, the red kind of bit in the middle, I'm going to do a little bit of a wash and some highlights on, I think, at some, maybe that's to start next time as well. And again, the cloaks come out really nice at the back, so I do like that. But yeah, now that we know that that's, we can have both webcams on, let's pause the music. Go to full screen camera 1. Let me pull the camera back so you guys can see how close my setup is. Webcam 1. Where's the zoom control? Webcam 1. Let's zoom back. You guys can see. So I'm like right up against my camera. It's just like right here. And yeah, ignore all the mess behind me and such. But yeah. There we go. Wow. This light is right in my face. It's not normally that close. Pan across. There we go. Everything's in slightly not their normal places. But yeah, so this has been fun. Thanks for hanging out. If you hung out for the whole stream, thank you a huge amount, because we are nearly at 4 hours. And yeah, we're going to continue next Monday. I think we're going to finish these guys off next Monday, and then pick something else to paint. Oh God, I'm going to go lie down in a darkened room. Hope my back gets back into space. I'm at my computer table, but I'm kind of shifted slightly to the right. My right leg is right up against my computer. My left leg is hemmed in by my tripod stand. It's not the most comfortable, I would say. So I think I've done quite well to last this long without dying. But yeah, again, thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. And if you don't follow already, click that follow button right there. We're nearly at 50, which means I'm approaching affiliate status. But yeah, I'm going to give it a bit of leeway past 50 before I apply to anything. But yeah, anyway, thanks for hanging out. We're going to be doing more Tomb Raider, I think, probably Saturday. Might do more streams in between now and then, but we'll see how we get on. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, everybody. I will see you later.